When cinema is applied to the term, it simply relates to how the films shift away from determining a singular national brand associated with the construction of the film. Ezra Roden suggests the transnational can be understood as the global forces that link people over institutions across nations. This exemplifies the syndication assembled between the world and cinema. From the general outset of film, it has always been considered a transnational medium. It's particularly fluid in the pioneering days of silent films, where spoken language was replaced by intertitles and obviously identifiable gestures, which could be translated, then internationally distributed with ease. Various significant progressions in film technology led filmmakers to use synchronized sound. This unfortunately ended the ease of universal film viewing. However, it also added a new element to the concept of filmmaking, one where the ensuring of a consistent economic flow from overseas markets meant that there had to be a national ideologies and themes included from relevant countries incorporated into films. There are various films that are considered significantly more transnational than others. These type of films often take a more direct approach in establishing the cultural and national differences present in the film. Transnational films are determined by the influences from actors, whether or not they're from the country they're pretending to be, the birth country of investors, if they're influential in decision making, location of filming, and the director's perception. Most, if not all, transnational films will often represent a culture from the different perspective of a filmmaker, whom actually isn't from the culture. Throughout this audiovisual essay, I will narrow my focus on what transnational cinema has to offer to audiences, which enables them insight into differing national perspectives. I will look at how the filmmaker encourages the viewer to challenge their set beliefs on a given culture and see it from a new viewpoint. I'm going to examine the film Slumdog Millionaire, a film about an Indian teen, Jamal, who enters Who Wants to Be a Millionaire as a contestant in order to find the girl he loves, who went missing when he was younger. And English, which tells the story of a traditional middle-class Indian housewife who travels to New York to attend her sister's wedding, where she begins to learn English as a second language. I will use these two examples to assist me in the process, where I will largely compare Slumdog Millionaire's westernised perspective of India to English's Indian perspective of westernised society.
Due to the majority of the cast and director being Indian nationals, English is categorised as an Indian film, whereas Slumdog Millionaire is categorised as an English film due to the British nationality of the central character, Dev Patel, and the director, Danny Boyle. Although English is an Indian film, the core of the film is set in middle-class America, where Indian director Gauri Shinde offers her insights into the culture from her own Indian middle-class upbringing. Similarly, Slumdog Millionaire offers insights into the less developed, poorer side of India from the perspective of Danny Boyle, who received a middle-class upbringing. Various transnational movements and certain diaspora networks are considered to contribute to the mending of the gap between international migration and also international relation theories. The intent of these theories is to define the power to control things. Migration has encouraged people to believe in westernized philosophies and to adapt to their practices. However, people who are settling in a foreign land and are adapting to Western ideologies whilst grieving the loss of their homeland highlights the inconsistency in American power. One of the most interesting aspects of English is how central character Sashi temporarily aggresses from the comforts of her upper-middle-class life in India and submerges herself into the extravagant consumerism of middle-class living in New York. The fundamental basis that drives English's narrative is a fish-out-of-water scenario. However, the conflict of this scenario is rarely associated with the confinements of conflicting cultural social classes, but are accentuated through her inability to speak fluent English. In this scene, we see a montage of clips accompanied with a song that states higher-end American brands. Not only do these brands represent elitist Western ideologies, but also we see how capitalism can intrude the mind of someone longing to belong. Shindy shows how Shashi is intrigued by everything around her. In Bordeaux's model of taste, he defines the middle class based on their lifestyle and behaviour, reiterating that bourgeois aesthetics become cultural capital, as dominant classes who have economic advantage define taste. Some of the main defining characteristics Shindy uses to represent middle class in India include
small.
The importance of speaking English.
$10.20.
This is an important characteristic as is echoed throughout the whole film.
Sorry.
People's ability to pursue hobbies and interests. Like Sashi's small business of making laddus, which suggests her family has disposable income because she doesn't need to work or earn the money that she...
Gift nahi baba, bolo gift. Sure.
Yes.
Shashi's husband's job. Satish Gobble, whose job is not specified in this film, is suggested to work in the emerging sectors of the economy in India, for example, business, technology, and media. Perhaps one of the most important aspects Shindy uses to define middle class is the relationship between child and parent. Typically, the British media tend to portray Indian families as relatively strict. It's often suggested that the typical relationship a child has to its parent is based on respect. So for people who have a fundamental understanding of Indian culture, may have formed a general consensus that this is an accurate representation of what children and parent relationships are like. English Finglish challenges this misconception in this scene. It shows Sapna displaying a blatant disrespect towards Shashi regarding her inability to speak fluent English. Shindy's intention of this film was to remove cultural boundaries by suggesting the similarities between the West and India, as shown by the character's lifestyle. There is a great importance in making cultures relatable as it bridges the gaps that are commonly believed unconnectable. However, my main concern comes with the non-existent representation of the working classes and slums, which make up a large proportion of India. Viewers who have a little understanding of Indian culture may get a skewed version of the reality of India as a country, but only see a one-sided view of India which excludes the poorer masses.
Forget my scars.
Most Western media texts rarely portray middle class in India. They tend to represent the elite or working classes. This is most probably because there is more conflict in the depiction of a class that is far removed from audiences' understanding. Unlike English Finglish, which largely represents the middle class, Slumdog Millionaire represents a large range of mid-Indian classes. This includes the social elites, like the gangsters who live in the modern mansions, and the middle classes, like the audience who want to be a millionaire. However, the class that is most commonly shown in the film is the working class. This scene has an intimate, almost backyard feel to it, where the kids are running around with innocence. The slum is portrayed as a happy, exciting place, and the music is energetic and uplifting.
They can't touch me. We break off, run so fast they can't even touch me. Midnight gypsy, touch me, I show you tricks with my zigzag.
In real life, of course, the slum is a harsh environment and a very hard place to live, especially compared to the home comforts enjoyed by Western audiences. However, some may argue the film shows another side of the slum, different to the negative images always portrayed throughout the media. It shows the human life within the extreme poverty.
Musketeers! Athos!